the offense anyway, because that's the real fear running underneath Adam Schefter's update. Not that Pickens vanishes forever, not that he never plays. The real fear is the path. No long-term deal means no signed tag anytime soon. No signed tag means no offseason. No offseason means missing reps, missing rhythm, missing chemistry build, and maybe even missing part of camp. And once that starts happening, the conversation stops being will he be there and becomes what version of him shows up when he finally is. That is where things get dangerous for the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys are not trying to protect a mediocre offense. They're trying to protect one that actually looked explosive when Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens were all cooking together. The panel said it clearly. With Pickens and CeeDee, and with the way Dak played, you could see how good that offense could be. That is not random TV hype. The production backs it up. Pickens had 93 catches for 1,429 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2025. That is elite output for a player in his first Dallas season. Yeah, that is exactly why this matters so much. If Pickens were just a nice player, this would be easy. He is not. He is a major part of the ceiling. Now let's be fair to the front office, because that matters too. Tim Hasselbeck did not kill Dallas here. He actually gave the Cowboys a lot of grace. His point was simple. One giant year does not mean you automatically get treated like you've stacked elite seasons in a row and earned immediate top-of-market money, especially when CeeDee is already getting paid, especially when the cap has to balance, especially when Dallas has needs elsewhere, and yes, especially when Pickens' path to this point has included some volatility that teams absolutely remember. That's a fair team-side argument. It really is. But here's the thing. Football teams do not win arguments, they win games. And if Jerry wins the argument but loses the vibe, loses the connection, or loses the player's full investment, that is still a loss. That was the warning buried in the second half of the segment. Another commentator flat out said Jerry has to be careful because Pickens has some volatility and you need him bought in. That is a huge line. Bought in. Not just present, not just technically under contract, bought in. Because a bought-in Pickens gives you one thing, a frustrated Pickens gives you something very different. And contenders need the first version, not the second. And yes, the defense may still be the biggest swing factor over the full season. I get that argument, but that doesn't mean you casually mess around with the offense. It doesn't mean you ignore how dangerous this passing game can be when the chemistry is clean. It doesn't mean you risk turning one of your biggest strengths into a training camp distraction. That is why I think this is such a huge Cowboys story. It's not just money, it's not just leverage, it's whether Dallas can keep one of its biggest offensive advantages emotionally and physically intact while still being disciplined as a front office. That is a hard balance, man, a very hard balance. So where do I land? I land in the middle, but leaning urgent. I understand Dallas not wanting to instantly cave, I really do. But I also think the Cowboys have already seen enough to know George Pickens is not some piece they can casually let drift into a weird summer. Not after what he meant to the offense, not after what he can still mean to the offense, and not if they truly believe this team can push into the contender tier. Because if the trio of Dak, CeeDee, and Pickens is part of what gets you there, then your job is not just to be right on value. Your job is to get the relationship to the starting line in the healthiest possible place. Yeah, that's the mission now. So, Cowboys Nation, let me know in the comments. Do you think Jerry's patience is the smart play? Or do you think the Cowboys are flirting with danger by letting this thing get colder before it gets warmer? Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because the George Pickens story is no longer just about contract numbers, it's about whether Dallas can protect one of the best things it has going.